Okay. So we are going to give it just a minute and
How many people are on here?
No, because when they do it as a webinar, you can't see it. When it's a Zoom, you can see
I
it.
got you. I
Yes.
guess I've never done a webinar, I've done several Zooms.
So these are a little bit different. And actually, I think this is the first time we've done one as a
Okay.
webinar.
Got you.
But it's supposed to be better for the speaker.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure everybody's running a little bit late, but we are recording, Kate, and what we're going to do is we're going to put this out on social media.
Great.
So that more people will get to see this. And so why don't we just go ahead and get started? And Robert, why don't you kick us off?
I'm Robert with Community Waste Disposal. We've been servicing the city of Allen for a little more than 2 decades of trash and recycling. We're huge fans of the Parks and Rec Department. We partner with them several events throughout the year. The biggest event is the USA celebration. And personally, I live in Frisco, but I think the Parks Department is a great job. I love the trail they have from LA Fitness all the way down to Allen Station Park. That's a beautiful trail, and I'm excited to hear what Kate's going to be talking about, the future of the Parks and Rec Department for the city of Allen. Thank you for allowing us to partner with the Chamber of Commerce.
And we want to thank Robert for sponsoring this session this morning and to say welcome to everyone. We have some people who are already online with us, but as I was just telling Kate earlier, this is going to go out on social media. So all of you who will be joining us later by viewing it on our Facebook page, thank you for doing that. And Kate, let's just get right into your presentation.
Sure. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate y'all having me. You are the last stop on my 20 stop roadshow of talking about our new Parks Recreation Open Space Master Plan. So we're very excited. Let me go ahead and share my screen. There we go. Alrighty, can you see my screen? Great. So with the Parks Recreation Open Space Master Plan, this is really our department's 10-year roadmap. While we focus a lot on the infrastructure side and our capital improvements over the next 10 years, it really is the roadmap for everything we do from a department. And so it includes maintenance standards to other plans on accessibility, on recycling. It really runs the gamut of everything that our department needs to focus on over the next 10 years. So there we go. So this has been in the works for way longer than we were hoping. We actually started this back in 2019 with a community survey that kicked off in November of 19 and ran till February of 2020. I actually started with the city of Allen the day COVID broke out in March of 2020. So at that point, the survey had already closed and we received a lot of great feedback. But obviously with COVID, we had to put pause on our master plan as we try to figure out what the heck the world was doing and how we were going to adjust to it. So we put it on the shelf for about 6 to 8 months. We work with a consultant, MHS, and we re-engaged with them later on in 2020 and kind of re-kicked things off and started really diving into all of the information we received. But it felt kind of weird to go through a master plan and come out on the other side of a world pandemic with information that was submitted 2 years ago. So that's why we're doing this roadshow. We're getting out and we're making sure that the priorities that our residents had 2 years ago are still the same priorities. So as we work through finalizing this, we have a really great solid document to really lead us through the next 10 years. So as I mentioned, we did the community engagement survey. We had nearly 1,500 responses. We had the National Research Survey Group do it for us, so a third party, and they were very pleased with the response rate. It is a statistically valid 95% confidence rate in our survey with all the information we received. Also, during that period of time, we did 20 different focus groups to really dive into the information and make sure we were understanding the information that was being given to us on what the residents really want to see moving forward. And then we take all of that information and we do a level of service analysis. So this really keeps things in check. So it's not just the loudest voice who gets heard during this process, but we check against other communities in the DFW area, in the state and nationally, to be sure with populations similar to us that they have similar, one thing isn't completely out of whack compared to another. So it's kind of our checks and balances exercises that we do. So we did all of that right as we led into the pandemic. So the survey results, a couple of highlights I would say, is our residents are really happy with the quality. And that's very important to us. We don't want to just be adding different things. We want to make sure we're adding quality services, and that by adding quality services, we're not lowering the quality of other services that we already have. So we had the majority of 83% of our responses said that the quality of parks and recreation opportunities, so that also includes all of our programs and facilities, was either excellent or good, which is a fantastic response. The next question was on the role of parks and recreation. So we had nearly 70% say that parks, recreation, and open space in Allen is more important today than 10 years ago. I just want to pause there for a minute. This was pre-pandemic. And so if you were one of the 2 residents who didn't make their way to a park or a trail during the pandemic, you were one of 2. Everybody was out, which was fantastic. We generally have very high utilization rates in our parks and with our trails, but it was insane during the pandemic. Everybody wanted to get out. Everybody was cooped up. So they wanted to get out, but they also wanted to explore different places that maybe they go to the same park every single week. We found that a lot of individuals went to new parks they had never even knew existed in Allen, which was fantastic. So I really truly believe if we would do this survey again today, that this number, while 70% is an excellent score, I really believe it'd be higher in the almost post-pandemic, we're almost getting there, world if they would ask this question. So level of service analysis. Again, this is kind of that very high level gut check that we do to be sure that we're serving our residents well. And so from a very high level, we take the number of park acres we have in the city of Allen divided by the number of residents. And so the National Recreation and Park Association, NRPA, they have a standard where they say anything above 10 acres per 1,000 residents that you have in your city is a good benchmark standard. Again, we like to be a little bit higher than that. And so to take it the next step up, our consultant really recommends nothing under 12. So as you can see by this chart, we are at 14.1, which is an excellent number. You can see Richardson locally is on the lower end, McKinney's on the higher end. But we actually, even with the growth we're expecting between now and over the next 10 years, we would still just barely, but we would still be above that 12 acres per 1,000 residents. So we're in a really good spot. We're always looking to acquire additional land and having open space and everything. But if we weren't able to acquire any more land over the next 10 years, we still would be exceeding the standard, which is an excellent number to know. All of the circles you see on the right, those are all the different types of parks. So the smaller circles, those are our pocket parks or our neighborhood parks. They're really meant to be served within a half-mile radius of residents living, while the larger circles, those are our regional parks. And they're really meant from a 25-mile radius to pull people in from an economic impact side. So when you think about, we talked about Allen, USA, we pull people in from all over and they bring their money and spend their money, which is great. You think about Spirit Park. We have a lot of softball tournaments out to Spirit Park. Again, a great economic impact side. So we designed those parks a little bit different. Those are the ones who have restrooms with parking and really meant for people to drive and go there as a destination versus our smaller neighborhood parks. We generally don't do parking or restrooms because it's really meant to serve the neighbors immediately around that area. So we really strategically look at all the different layers as we're, selecting a park, what type of park needs to be there, and make sure it's serving the city in a strategic way. So another benchmark that we really take a look at is, it's great that we have over 12 acres per 1,000 residents, but we also want to make sure that they're properly placed, kind of going back to what I just mentioned. And so NRPA and the Trust of Public Land also have another standard called the 10-minute walk to a park standard, where we really want residents to be within 10 minutes of walking to a park. So you think about it, of course, not everybody is gonna, go to the parks, but when you pick your home or your quality of life and you think about all the amenities around you, you think about the parks, you think about the schools, you think about all the different things that make up a community. And so I'm really proud of our number of 76% of our Allen residents are within 10-minute walk to a park. Just to give you a little comparison, the national average is 55%. So while we would love to be 100%, it's never going to happen, but we will always strive to increase that number to get more of our residents to be within a 10-minute walk to a park. So 76% is a very great score for us. This is just a quick overview in case individuals don't realize how many parks Allen has. We do have 63 parks. You can see on the different classification side from big to small to linear parks and the number of acres, but we have just over 1,800 acres. 1,500 of those are developed and maintained. Our undeveloped ones is the McDermott property, the Molson Farm property, and we also have another property up near Custer. So with the community feedback we received through that initial survey and focus groups, I could have had probably 5 pages listed here of some of it. This is just a little snapshot of some of the feedback we received. People want shade for the playgrounds. They really want us to continue our trail master plan. So this master plan, just for clarification, is not our trail master plan. So we have a whole separate master plan that is specific for our trails. And so while our community was very vocal in talking about the trails and wanting us to continue our trail program, basically this plan just points back to the trail master plan to say complete that plan. But it does come up. We do make sure we capture that information because we wanted to be sure this was an all-inclusive capture of what the residents were telling us. And again, you can see on here examples such as the dog park. The dog park was already approved because we had heard over the last 2 years since we started doing the survey that everybody wanted the dog park. So we already started working on that. So that is already set to, we're in construction documents right now, and we'll hopefully be opening that in the summer of 2023. So we didn't remove anything off the plan, even though it took us 2 years to get to this point. We're just simply capturing it there and then adding information saying opening soon. So the needs analysis, again, we're really making sure that we're balancing and not just listening to the loudest voice. So some other things that we were able to do is there's some standards regarding sport fields. So we're able to look at the number of athletes we have in the community from either Allen Sports Association or with our own Allen Parks and Recreation programs, and see the number of participants we have. And there's actually formulas to tell us how many game fields we need for soccer, softball, baseball, football. And so we're really able to be sure that we have adequate coverage. And in the plan, it actually tells us if we need to add a couple fields or maybe a sport is, reduced in the number of participants and trending downwards. We take a look from a national trends analysis as well as what our participation is. To be sure we have adequate coverage for everybody. This slide is really meant just to show that we have a lot of different funding sources. And that's really not what the purpose of this master plan is. What this shows is that the number one question we get is this going to raise my property taxes by having all of these projects put into the master plan? The very short answer is no. We do not use property tax funds for 99.9%, and you can round up generously, of our projects do not come from property taxes. The majority of our projects are actually funded through sales tax. And we also have very large grants that we're able to get. So we have a grant specialist right inside of our department. She has gotten over $20 million over the last 20 years. Where we're able to apply to Texas Parks and Wildlife or Collin County. They have We Align with their trail master plan. And a lot of times if our plan matches their plan, they'll pay for 50% of the trail. And so we're able to leverage a lot of different resources that is not property taxes in order to have this happen. So when we develop the 10-year implementation plan, while we want to be very aware of how much things cost, what we really want people to tell us is what they want. And then let us as staff work with council to figure out the different funding sources, but just be assured that it is not property tax funded. So this is where everybody comes in and gives us their feedback. We invite people either scan the QR code or just go to our website, lifeinallen.org/masterplan. And there's actually an overview of this presentation on that master plan webpage. And it invites you to do a needs analysis poll. We've had nearly 600 people already do it, which is fantastic. And what we're asking is, out of all the different projects that we have coming up, tell us what you would like us to prioritize. People's priorities have definitely changed over the last 2 years coming out of the pandemic. And while previously they may have prioritized indoor spaces, they may all of a sudden realize, oh, I have a new love for the outdoors, and I'd rather us prioritize the outdoor space. That's what we're asking for the public to do. So we took all of the different projects, and again, we couldn't list all of them because you would never complete the survey with everything. So we developed some themes. There are some specific projects listed, but generally some themes out there. And what we're asking is to select 3 projects that you would like us to prioritize as a tier 1 project. That means that we would do that in the next 1 to 3 years. Then you would select another 3 for the tier 2 projects. That would happen in the 4 to 5 year range. Rest assured, all of the other projects, it is what the community has told us. So everything goes into the plan. But everything else would just fall to that tier 3, which would be that 6 to 10 year range. This is just an exercise to be sure that we are prioritizing what the residents want first, and then we'll work through the different exercises to be sure that everything kind of falls into place from there. So this is just an example of some of the different needs analysis things we have on there. Generally speaking, we want to know about, do you want natural areas or community gardens, or do you want us to construct more practice fields? Pickleball, fastest growing sport in America. So we definitely heard from pickleball that they would like some, we have 11 indoor pickleball courts coming with the new Stephen G. Terrell Recreation Center, but they were talking about outdoor pickleball courts. So you can see a variety of different things that we're asking people. And it's really for us to just kind of get a sense of a theme on indoor, outdoor, athletic versus open space. What are our residents telling us right now? So that's all I have for the presentation. Kind of the next steps forward that we're looking to do is we did brief City Council last night on the 22nd on generally what we're hearing back from the needs analysis. And so we're getting ready to close out that needs analysis here at the end of the month before we present back to the Park Board. So our Parks and Recreation Board is the recommending body for our department. So they'll be briefed on the results of the needs analysis here in about a week. And then we'll be taking the final document to council on March 8th. Again, it's for them just to adopt the master plan. They're not necessarily saying, I'm approving the funding for specific projects at that point. They're just approving our roadmap for us. And then we come back every year in the order in which we have things laid out, showing them the different projects and funding them at that point. So we invite everybody to go to the lifeinallen.org/masterplan, take a look at all the information, complete the needs analysis, and let us know how we should prioritize the projects.
Thank you, Kate. I failed to mention at the beginning of this that Kate is the Director for Parks and Recreation. She took over, I guess, from Tim Dentler, who did an exemplary job for so many years for the city. He has moved up in the hierarchy a little bit, so we're so happy to have you. Great presentation. As I mentioned earlier, CWD, Robert Medikovich, was a sponsor for today's presentation. And we want to thank him again. And we want to just thank you, Kate, for taking the time, braving the weather. I mean, you know, people, Penny is still trying to get here from McKinney. And I talked to her when I left my house in Garland and I got here and she's stuck. So anyway, she did a great job working with you to make this happen. So we really appreciate what she did. We appreciate you being here, Robert. We appreciate you so much. Those of you who joined us, thank you for being here. For those who are going to be joining us on social media, thank y'all, and be sure and go to the link that Kate provided to provide your input. And other than that, we'll say thank you again and have a great day. Stay safe, everybody, and please stay warm.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.